Today's exercise will simulate Boeing 777 crashing into the city of Sydney, which certainly sounds dramatic, but we know with worldwide events between floods and fires and building collapses, you have to be prepared for the worst. And you'll see the footage around you, a simulation of a plane fuselage with 500 cardboard mannequins, each that are listed with a certain amount of injuries. Now, the important part of this is how we deal with it, how we respond to these type of events and how we minimise the loss of life. And today, for the first time, Health will be setting up a full triage centre at the scene, and they'll have to triage those 500 patients to ensure that we can deal with that type, again, as confronting as that may be. We will have over 30 agencies represented here today to practice in what is a very realistic scene, and you can see from around you that there is smoke and there's flames and there's cars overturned. And we do this to try and simulate the sort of pressure that you see in a normal emergency. Now, the Minister spoke about the volunteers, and we couldn't run an operation like this without the volunteers. There's over 300 from our services, and there's 70 from the community who have given up their time to come here this morning and help us. And whilst they won't play the role of victims, they will play the role of victims' families. And we know that in these type of events, family members will come to the scene and they will call and they will want information, and timely information in terms of what's happening. So it's again designed to put emergency services and police under pressure at the scene. Today there are over 500 different New South Wales government employees involved in this today. They've given up their Sunday to come here to ensure that we are as prepared as possible to respond to any type of emergency that may happen. Now, whilst this plane crash is an accident, it's a result of a tail strike at Sydney Kingsford Smith area. It's irrelevant if it's an act of God or Mother Nature at its worst, or even if it's a crime. The people who you see here today are the people who will respond in the first 4 hours to any type of emergency. In an emergency like this, when you're dealing with mass casualties, it can be overwhelming for agencies, particularly when you talk about 500 potential victims being on the ground. Because at the same time you've got smoke and you've got fire, you've got convergence on the scene by agencies, by family members, but we have to minimise the loss of life, and to do that, in this case we're setting up essentially an emergency department on the scene. It's the first time we've done that in an exercise, and heaven forbid we ever have to do that, but this is about making it as realistic as possible. So if we do have a disaster of some type, whether it's crime-based or otherwise, that we're ready to respond to minimise the loss of life.